On this week's show, what are the strategies that Samuel Leeds is using to invest in 2020?
And in the news, the Telegraph recently did an article on why the government's plan to attack landlords has completely backfired.
And we're going to be answering all your property-related questions. Welcome to the Property Investors Podcast. Thanks so much for tuning in. Make sure you subscribe so you never miss an upload. You can catch us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. Enjoy this week's show and don't forget to share it with all your friends.
Hi, I'm Russell Leeds. And I'm Samuel Leeds.
And thank you very much for joining us on the show. Alistair is running a programme, so couldn't be here today. So I thought, why not bring on the superstar himself, Mr. Samuel Leeds. How you doing?
I'm great. It's actually... Obviously, I watched the podcast. I think this is my first time ever featuring on it.
You've never been on it?
I've never been on it. I'm just jealous of the views that you get, so I thought I have to jump on the action, even though I kicked you off my YouTube channel.
You did. So for those of you that have been watching us for a while, so we started our own YouTube channel. Then when it started being really successful, he was like, hey, come on my YouTube channel. So we moved across to his YouTube channel. And then he was like, you know what, I'm going to set up my own podcast. And he kicked us off.
That is exactly what happened.
It is.
I'm not going to lie.
So before we get sort of cracking on with what we're talking about today, have been done anything exciting recently or?
Yeah. I don't even know what day it is actually, but it's, you know what? Every day is rolling into one. Long days, getting up really early. I've got my PT coming around every day.
We met at 7:30 today, and you'd already done your personal training session.
Of course, man. So did that this morning. We've moved our studio into central London, which used to be at my house, but the thing is, although
you've still got a studio at your house as well, haven't you?
I still got a studio at my house, which is great.
Two now.
But the thing is, for some of my videos, it's great. But doing every single video at my house, when my team have to keep travelling over on the train, they want to be in central London. So now we've got two studios. Been to the Peak District, back-to-back meetings. Been out with Ben Machakanyanga, viewing loads of sites and developments. And late nights, early starts, loving life. Delivering less training recently than I used to do, but excited to get back on stage at the Bristol Crash Course on Saturday.
Yeah. So that'll be the day after this comes out.
Probably.
Yeah. Very cool. So your PT sessions, because I haven't really spoken too much about this. You've been doing it, how long have you been doing it for now?
6 weeks.
6 weeks. How long's the session?
About an hour each session.
And do you do it every day?
Yeah.
That's pretty hard.
Not every day, no. I do it, I don't do like Sundays. I sometimes do Saturdays, but...
5 times a week?
Probably at least 5 times a week, yeah.
And is it mainly cardio, weights?
It's a massive mixture. He basically just shocks my body. So what he'll do is he'll get me doing cardio, and then when I'm a bit used to cardio after a few days...
Boom!
He'll go boom! And then he'll get me doing deadlifts and stuff.
Yeah.
And then it's like, it's just a nice break from cardio. And he just shocks the body. I've lost a stone, so it's going all right.
That's great. Awesome. Right, so I wanted to get you on, and we'll talk about what you're planning on investing in property in 2020.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people... the strategies often stay the same, but they're always changing what's best to do. And we talk a lot on the podcast about buy, refurbish, refinance, rent to rents, service accommodation. So I'd be interested in finding what's your plan for the year.
So I think that with strategies, I mean, I did a YouTube... Every year I always do a YouTube video about what I bought that year. Yeah. And then I do another video about what I'm going to buy this year. So I love to just tell people exactly what I'm doing, and I'm always out in the open with it. I've been now investing for 11 years actively. And over the years, my strategy have changed for a combination of reasons. I mean, this year, my focus is development. So big deals, money in, develop, money out, and then either sell or refinance. That's my strategy this year. But I think that having an understanding around lease options and serviced accommodation and deal packaging and development and BRR, buy, refurbish, refinance, and HMOs, what you do is it just means that you have a full vision. So you can go out, view properties, meet investors and sellers and developers and landlords, and just offer the right strategy for the right project. So, and sometimes combining strategies as well, and sometimes taking advantage of a strategy for someone else. So in other words, I might see a development site where I can build a block of apartments, and I think this will be perfect for serviced accommodation. I don't personally want to run it as serviced accommodation because of just the effort and stuff, but I can pass this on to somebody, one of my students or whoever, and say, hey, you give me a guaranteed rent and you can run it as serviced accommodation. But if I didn't have an understanding and if I'd never done serviced accommodation, I wouldn't see the opportunity, and so I think it's just having that depth of knowledge. but they're not having shiny penny syndrome being focused. So my focus this year, big deals, 7-figure deals, and development is my focus this year. But that was the long way of answering a short question.
So development.
Yes.
Cool. Cool. So what you've got, I know we've got, obviously we invest together as well. I know we've got stuff in Lincoln.
Yep. That's been really interesting. Like, do you know what's so interesting?
What?
Is that because I always say what I'm going to do before I do it, that sometimes it helps people, but it also puts you under pressure, because if you publicly say on YouTube and you've got like 1 million views a month, which I have on my YouTube channel, if you say, I'm doing this, and these are going to be the figures, and these are going to be the profit margins, talk about ballsy. Because then it's like, if you don't, you've got a really bad before and after.
But that's what you did with weight loss.
Yeah.
Because you've been talking about it for a long time, and then when you said on YouTube, I'm going to get fit, I thought, oh, crap. He's actually got to do it.
He's got to.
Because if he doesn't, everyone's going to be like, hey.
But that's the thing. Most people are afraid to say what they're going to do because they're afraid to look stupid. But when you can completely get over that fear of looking stupid, when you speak it out, you speak it into existence. So going back to the Lincoln project, I said, just bought this piece of land for $330,000. We're going to build 6 houses in 6 months, and it's going to be done within £500,000. And I had so many comments from builders, and I've been in the industry 25 years, and there's no way. Look at that land. That's going to need some serious this, and everyone was saying that it wasn't possible. But we've now finished. We've built 6 houses. We did it. Under budget.
Yeah.
We did it in less than 6 months. So it happened. And that's obviously a really good feeling. So we're finishing off some of the interiors and stuff now. So we've still got a bit to finish before we can sell them. And it's just like a good feeling. So I'm really happy about that. Castle, also spending a lot of money on the castle. And it's crazy because whilst I know that every pound I spend on the castle, I'm getting more than £1 in return. We're not, and the castle's a joint project with us both, but the money isn't, I don't see it in my bank yet, so I'm putting in a lot of money into the castle. I know that the end value is going to be like 6 mil, so I'm happy. But it's just I can't wait for it to finish. That castle project, I know we knew from the beginning it was going to take. It was not going to be a year project. It was going to always be a couple of years. But that project has definitely taught me patience because I almost get frustrated going, because I go and I'm like, what's the update? Oh, the update is we've managed to house the bats. Well, how does that help me? I can't see that it doesn't look any different. No, because now we've, great news. We've had the conservation officers have agreed that we can do X, Y, Z. Yeah, but it doesn't look any different. So it's painful for me. But then it's also every other project.
It is painful. It feels like when you go along with it, to cut the lawn.
Oh, mate, it's painful.
Yeah.
And I'm just wanting to see paintbrushes and new kitchens going in. But then, of course, that's the easy bit. So I've learned so much. I've grown as a person so much on that. I've been so frustrated by it, but I've learned patience.
You go along a lot more than me. So
dude, that's not hard. You don't go very often. You've probably been 6 times in your life, bro.
Yeah, that's probably fair.
Yeah.
That probably is about fair.
Yeah, so it's not difficult.
What's the roof looking like now? Still got a big hole in it.
Just covered in scaffolding and just go, bro.
Okay.
Just go, bro. We just did an update video. Yeah, it's looking good. The outer building and everything, he's pretty much finished now. So we're planning to have our first show home in there by
August, isn't it?
That's the plan. I think it might be September. I really want to get the show home ready within the castle. At least one finished, beautiful apartment before the
winter,
before the
get
summer
it in
ends.
The summer.
Yes. Yeah. And then people can start looking around it, and it's nice. So that's the plan. They're saying August, but that it's August/September. Everything's like it's gonna be ready by the summer. Great. In my mind, that's June. Yeah, it's gonna be ready by August, as we said. No, you said summer. August? Yeah. I guess that technically summer. It's gonna be ready in August/September. It's gonna be ready before the winter. But that is that.
That is what they do. Ben was doing that with the Lincoln project though. It's gonna be end of Feb. That suddenly was beginning of March. And the next.
But to be fair on Lincoln,
end of March.
To be fair on Lincoln, we bought that land 6 months ago. 6 houses built. That's been fast.
Yeah, it has been very fast. Unlike the castle. So So obviously with these developments, how much money do you typically need to do one of these deals?
Okay, so it depends on how much you can get on finance. So like with the Lincoln project, I bought that cash, built it cash, my own money, right? We did that together.
Yeah.
So that was just money in. If we'd have wanted to go down the bridging route, we could have. Because of our track history, it's easier for us to get bridging than some. So we would have probably put in 40% on the land, which would have been, I don't know, maybe 100 grand. And then the actual building project, we would have definitely been able to finance, again, at least 60%. Sometimes you can get 100% development finance. So you don't need lots. I'd say to do a big deal, you're probably talking 6 figures. But it doesn't need to be your money. Because you see, when you're doing bridging finance on a big deal, the money that you do need to put in, it can be private investors' money. So you don't actually need any money. But the reason I don't talk loads about development on my videos and say, oh, you can do it with no money, you can buy a piece of land and build houses with no money, is because it is risky if you don't know what you're doing. Yeah. And if you're leveraging yourself to the max using other people's money and the project doesn't work, it could literally put you into a a breakdown. You could have a mental breakdown of stress with development if you do it wrong and you don't know what you're doing.
I know people that have done it.
People that have done it. They've bought pubs and they've, we're going to do it up and we're going to split into flats. But it's been a fantasy romance thing with their wife, but they've struggled with the planning. And then the builders have charged 3 times the amount they thought, and then it's been downvalued and they've lost so much money and they've put other people's money into it, and it's like
stressed their eyeballs,
stressed up to their eyeballs, lose everything and lose their reputation, and like, it's just. It can be, whereas what I teach, I mean, I do teach development just on an advanced level, but, and BRR and stuff like that. But when you're buying a small house, it's like you're putting in 20 grand. And so some people, don't get me wrong, 20 grand's a lot. And they could be stressed still. But if you're buying a house, it's residential, 20 grand renting it out, there's like a lot less that can go wrong in one sense. Or if it does, the consequences aren't going to cripple you.
You're not relying on. There's lots of factors to rely on. So, for example, Ribsford House. Obviously, we got
that's the castle for anyone that doesn't know.
The castle, yeah. So obviously, we bought it in the first place. Then we've got to spend millions doing it up.
I mean, over 2 mil.
Yeah,
is what it will be. It'll probably be about 2.1, 2.2 mil by the time we finished.
But that can obviously change because then they can find problems, so it can go up. And there's lots, and then it's like, well, what's the end value going to be exactly? As it happens, we've got a good deal there. There's a nice big cushion, so we're going to be okay.
Yeah, we've got a lot of profit in there. So even if it's more, and even if it's, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but if you don't know what you're doing and you do calculate it wrong, and people tend to calculate it. They tend to assume it's going to be better than it is, don't they?
It's so funny because people think I am such a negative person when they do business with me. Because it's weird because I'm so positive. Property investing's easy. Anyone can be financially free. You can do it. Take action. That's my message, and that's completely correct. But then when I'm actually doing development deals and construction,
you're a lot more negative than I am.
I'm so much more negative than you are.
Yeah.
I am absolutely worst case boy. They call me Samuel Worst Case Leeds. Because I'm so negative, because I've had so many problems and I've had so much go wrong, and I've been so excited so many times and it's not worked out, so that now when I'm doing deals, even in business in general, I am so negative.
That's where I am negative. Not negative, but I do not count my chickens till they hatch. So if there's a deal going ahead, until it's actually done, I don't even get excited about it.
No.
And people say to me like, hey, why are you excited that deal's going through? I'm like, no, because it hasn't actually... actually gone through, because the amount of time
what do I always say?
Falling out of bed last second.
I know. Until you got the keys, never be at ease. Until you got the gold, they have not been sold. Like all this stuff, and so many people as well pull out. It's crazy how many properties fall out of bed. If you're buying something, it falls out before you buy it. But then if you develop something, you've built something, and you're selling it, if you've got a buyer lined up, until you've completed, they could pull out any minute.
And they do.
It's
not like it's hypothetical. They could, but it happens
a lot. Even if they've bought it from auction off you, sometimes people will just say, you know what, forget the 10%, keep it. So you cannot rely on it. So you just got to be so careful. And when you celebrate hard. And I celebrate my life every day, but just I'm so negative, and when I see these newbie investors, and Don't get me wrong. I'm so positive and supportive around people and building people up, and my job is to empower people. Because here's what a lot of people do: they disguise themselves as being conservative and professional and constructive and all this, but actually they just want people to fail. And they will make it look so hard and make things so difficult and poo-poo on people's dreams because they don't want people to succeed. I want people to succeed, but at the same time, I've got the experience to know you've got to be conservative. And sometimes people bring me deals. Oh, I'm doing this. I've even people on the academy. I've got this deal. I'm going to reevaluate this, and I'm like, pull out. I had it the other day. I had it with Amelia's mom. Amelia's mom came around my house for some dinner. And she said, I'm buying this house. I'm really excited. It's going to be amazing. I was like, that's great. I said, let me have a look at it. I looked at it and I said to her, I think you should pull out. And I knew that was not what she wanted to hear. And I didn't want to say it because I love being the bearer of good news. I don't like bad news. I don't want people to bring bad news to me. I don't want to bring bad news to people. I'm a good news man. But I knew that the deal was risky. And I knew that there was a very good chance that the value would come back low. I could just see that it wasn't quite what she thought it was, or at least probably wasn't. And I said to her, "Look, it's not a terrible deal, but I don't think it's what you think it is." And I would walk away. And she was just like, and then she was like, "All right." And she's doing it with a joint venture partner. And she was like, "Oh, okay. Well, I don't want to let him down though. I think I'll do it just because I don't want to let him down." I said, "Listen, man.
He'll be more let down for the deal."
Yep, that's what I said. I said, here's what's going to happen. I said, over the next 8 months, if you go ahead, and I told her the story, the builder's going to do this, and then this is going to happen, and then your joint venture partner's going to be really stressed, and then you're going to argue about this, and then the value's going to come at this, and then and in the end, it was like you've made $5,000 profit for 8 months. So you'd be better off working in Tesco's. And she was just like, ugh. And then she was like, well, let me think about how I'm going to tell him, and I said, give me your phone. She went, you're not going to call him? I said, yeah. No, because you know what I mean? So, but that's me trying to see her succeed. And then I said, let me help you find another deal.
Yeah. It's interesting though, because obviously we teach, and I'm a massive believer in...
Although, sorry, this podcast is so good it's going on my channel.
No, it's not. I'm a massive believer in positivity.
Yeah.
And about being positive. So, interesting, because we're looking at obviously being negative in certain situations as well. So how would you say, when's the time to be positive and when's the time to be negative?
Okay, so I think being positive is saying that I can do it, it's going to be done, I'm going to make money, I'm going to succeed. Being negative is about being realistic with how you're going to do it. So, okay, I'm going to say, you could say, I'm going to become financially free this year. I wouldn't say, if I said, no, you're not, be realistic, that would be horrible. I would say, yes, you can, yes, you will. But then if they have a deal, it's not great. It's being negative about the deal itself, and being, not even negative, just being conservative, but not being conservative on yourself and what you can achieve. I think there's a big difference.
Yeah. Yeah. I think there's a massive difference. I'm just trying to think of a way of conveying it so that people don't go, oh, Samuel says it's good to be negative. I'm just trying to think
I am allergic to negativity.
Yeah.
Right? If you're being negative about yourself and about what you can achieve, or being negative, I'm not going to say, oh, that deal doesn't work, therefore it doesn't work. Therefore no deal can work. I'm going to say, that deal, I think that's too risky, that's too conservative. Let me find a better deal. Let me find a more profitable deal. I'm not going to just give up. I'm just going to find a better way. And I'm not going to do it because I'm scared.
Totally believe you can do it, but don't. I think the big one for me where I'm not negative. I just assume that every deal could fall out of bed.
Although this caption should be called Samuel Leeds is negative in real life.
There you go.
I think so. And then people will be like, what? He's negative in real life. Is this a hate video? No, this is a real video.
His own brother hates him.
But sometimes people get so shocked though about me when they because my brand is positivity and I am positive, but I think some people do get it mixed up.
Yeah, and I totally agree with everything you said about being.
It's a really interesting balance though, because I have fired accountants for being too negative. You don't want.
You do want them to be negative though.
No. You do want
to be conservative and really.
Maybe negative is the wrong word.
I think negative is the wrong word.
You want them.
Not for the title.
No, not for the title. Let's get those clicks, baby. Because the clicks are positive. What I'm saying is, if someone is negative and they focus on the problems, that's a bad thing. But then just looking at best case and worst case and making an educated decision to step forward, you know, there must be a difference.
Yeah. The problem is the word really is you want to say realist, but people disguise that as negative people say, then I'm just a realist.
I sometimes look on the negative side for a ultimate positive outcome.
Yeah.
So someone that's got negative, if someone's got negative energy, like that's why I say if I had a negative accountant, they just come in and negative energy. How you doing? Fine. I don't want that.
Yeah.
I'm awesome. I'm great. Yes, you're great. Let's have a look at your deals. Oof, that deal is a bit too risky. I think you can do better.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to work. There is a difference.
And there's also the difference, I think you summed it up quite well, in terms of believing in yourself. I believe I can be financially free. I'm going to find a great deal.
And that isn't great enough for my strategy.
But it's being blind, isn't it? It's being blind to a deal because you're masking it. It will all work out for the best. Well, no, mine. You've got to be smart as well. You've got to be educated as well. You've got to know what you're doing, and then be positive believe in yourself.
But then you have got to see it. I do believe in faith.
It's a hard one then, isn't it? It's a hard one because explain then. You believe in faith. So how does that work? So you believe in just thinking, it's going to work out for the best.
Yeah, but when it comes to valuers and builders, nope. It's so interesting, we could talk about it all day.
We could.
And it's just bringing in logic and experience. And
so here's a question then. Let's say then someone watching this and they are just getting started in development.
Yeah.
Well, in property.
Yeah.
And they're thinking, you know what? I've got 100 grand, 150 grand plus in the bank. I'd love to get into development because the great thing about development is you put your money in, you get it all back, and you make a profit.
Yeah.
Right. Assuming that you do it correctly, and then sometimes you make a very big profit. Like I'm talking £1 million plus.
Yep.
Now, what could they do? I mean, you mentioned that you get people that invest with you. So how does that work? Let's say.
Okay, so the few things that you need good deals, you need good finance, and you need a good power team.
Yeah.
They're the three things that you need. If you can find good deals and you can finance the deals, and then you've got a good power team, that's kind of the keys to success in development. To find a good deal, again, you need three things. You need to know, what am I buying this project for, this property, this piece of land, whatever. What's my purchase price? What is the development cost? And then what is the end value? Finding those three figures is all you need to succeed. Because if you know you're going to buy it for 500 grand and then you're going to spend 500 grand on it and you're going to put $1 million in, but then the end value is going to be 1.5 million, then you know you've made a £500,000 profit. So obviously gross. So that's what you need to look at, those three figures. Finding those three figures is hard. You need risk valuers to give you the end value if you're doing a big deal. You need builders to give you a breakdown of the works, and you need surveys
that they're going to actually stick to.
That they're actually going to stick to. You need to make sure that the quote is itemised, that there's penalties if they go over time scale and stuff. So that's the bit that takes work. So, but effectively, that is the breakdown of what you need to succeed in development.
Okay. So
how do you get started?
Yeah.
Or how much money do you need? So, okay, it depends. If you've got no experience in property whatsoever, what I generally teach is start with small deals or joint venture with someone on a big deal that is very trustworthy and knows what they're doing and has got all the facts and figures that you need. Because generally speaking, you're going to make a lot of mistakes on your first deal. Thank God, some of these big deals, thank God I got a decade experience in property. My first deal was a small house. It was like a 100 grand house that I split into 4 rooms.
That actually went well, didn't it?
It did go well. But that was my first house. And then I started buying lots and lots of houses and then slowly getting a bit bigger. And then, you know what, I'm going to try a 6-bed licensed HMO. I need planning. And then, okay, and now I'm going to do a bit of a project and a bit of... And then I've slowly built up to where I'm up to now.
You've also got a brilliant team around you as well, haven't you?
Brilliant team. Yeah.
Which I think is really important.
Yeah.
Because you've got the flair and the knowledge. You can
I've got the gut feeling. I've got the big picture. I'm the visionary. And I can do most people's jobs. But then I've got specialists as well.
Yeah. People going back up the deal.
But if you've got like 100 grand and you're starting out and you don't know anything about property, probably don't do £1 million project and finance yourself up to the hill.
Unless you're JVing with someone like you.
Well, if you're JVing with me, but I don't JV with people easily.
No.
Because the last thing I want is stress. In my deals, I want as least hassle as possible. And the people that are going to bring me hassle are going to be tenants. Tenants bring hassle. So I don't want lots of tenants. That's why I don't want people to say, Samuel, how many houses do you own? It's a bad question. Ask me a better question. Like, how much money are you making? Because people think it's about owning lots of houses. I know people that own over 100 houses and make no profit. They don't have 100 houses. They have 100 headaches. And they bought them in bad areas at bad times. They're in negative equity. The mortgage is barely covered by the tenant. It's just... But then, that's not a bragging right for me. I don't even want to buy hundreds of houses. I want to make a lot of money. So I want to slowly... This year, this year, when I did my video, I said I only want to do 2 deals this year. If I can make £1 million profit a deal, I'm all right with 2 deals.
Yeah.
So I could use that money to buy 100 houses, but I don't want an extra 100 houses. So, what was your question again?
I can't remember. Something about... what was my question? Because you sort of just answered something else, didn't you?
Probably.
Yeah. I think the question was, how did they get started? And how do they... If they...
Oh, no, I know what I was saying. I was saying I don't like hassle.
Oh, yeah.
And the reason I don't like hassle is because time is money. So, and it takes just as much effort to do a small deal as a big deal. So just in having to go and view a house in Liverpool, for me, I'm like, well, how many thousands of pounds have I lost in having to do that trip to go and view it? Compared to the reward, which is how much am I going to make off of this deal? Straight away, I've lost money because of the time. So if I'm driving to Liverpool now, I don't want to go and look at a £60,000 house, even if it's going to make me a 25% ROI. Because the trip alone, to view that one house, if I'm going to do the trip, I'd rather view a house that's potentially going to make me 100 grand.
Yeah.
You know, so I don't want hassle. I don't want hassle in time.
Start with the buy, refurbish, refinance type strategy, and then build up.
I think so, because you're going to make mistakes on your first deal. Make mistakes on the 100 grand house.
Yeah.
Make all the mistakes on the little deals, and then slowly build. Another way you get hassle. So there's hassle with tenants. There's hassle with builders. You know what's crazy?
What?
You have more hassle with builders on small projects. And I'll tell you why. Because when you're dealing with a big project, you can afford to pay big companies. And although you pay big bucks, it's a big company, they're professional. When you're dealing with a 10 grand refurb on a house, and you're dealing with a one-man band, and then you've got to get an electrician in, and then you've got to book this. But when you've got a bigger project, you can just afford to pay a project manager to just sort the lot. You can afford to bring in more specialists.
Well, it's almost the same. We talked about this before. It's almost the same effort to do a big deal and a small deal.
Another thing that brings hassle is stress head joint venture partners. Brings hassle because if someone's got 100 grand and it's their life savings and they're protective over it, and then they give it to you, and it's going to be a 12-month project. And every day they're like, how's it going? Oh my gosh, it's definitely going to work, isn't it? And it's like, look, we've got a contract and we've risk assessed it. And if it doesn't work, this is your money's protected and this is how it's protected. Yeah, but I'd rather just use my own money. you know. Yeah. And I got to that point where I only used my own money. And the strategies that I started off with, which was never use my own money, which is what I preach and I advocate. You know, in 2019, I was just using my own money. And people were queuing up, saying, hey, can I joint venture? Hey, here's some money, I didn't even want the bank's money. I paid off loads of my mortgages. I had so much money in 2019, I was handing out money to people, getting a fixed return on interest. And it was only when Grant Cardone schooled me, said, you were there, he said that I was over the hill. He goes, oh, so you're over the hill now? You've peaked. And I was offended. And then I was looking at him and I was like, well, you're almost a billionaire. Why do you still borrow people's money? Because I'm wanting to grow as big as I can possibly get and leave the biggest legacy and impact as many people as I can. I'm thinking, he's in his 60s. I'm in my 20s. He's calling me over the hill. Right. Yeah, so now I'm thinking, okay, forget this. And then what did I do? Refinanced. He even told me to sell. He was like, sell all your little houses. I was like, but dude, that's what makes me all my money. Yeah, but the stuff you're doing now, the biggest... So I'm still not quite there. So I've sold quite a lot of little houses. I've refinanced the houses that I had mortgages on mostly. And I'm now joint venturing with people. But I'm learning absolutely loads.
Yeah, because back when you first started, you needed leverage. You got to a point where you didn't need to. But if you want to grow, it still makes sense to...
Then I did that video as well because I would meet people like very wealthy athletes and sports stars and pop stars, and they'd have £1 million. and they'd go, I'm looking to invest it into a house in London. I'm like, what? I'm wanting to buy like a house or an apartment, you know, maybe an apartment. I'll buy a £1 million apartment. I'll buy it for £1 million and rent it out for £3,000 a month. I'm like, well, we call that financially retarded.
Yeah.
You know, but then I'm kind of not doing much different myself. It is very different than that. I'm like, leverage. What are you, crazy? Just want to sit on it and get but it would yield me 3.5%, which isn't bad, is it? Terrible. It would yield you 3.5%, and your return on investment would probably be around about 1.5%. May as well leave it in the bank, mate. It's just terrible. Absolutely terrible.
So now you are open to JVing.
Yeah. I've JV'd. I've JV'd the last 6 months. I've JV'd with several people, but I'm just picky and careful. Right people. Relationships.
Yeah,
got to be the right people. People that come send me messages. Oh, I've got 10 million in the bank. Let's do something together. I'm just like, yeah. Whatever. But then people that I know, I've built a relationship with, I've met. And sometimes, if I know who they are, I'm just careful.
Yeah.
Careful, negative, skeptical, burned, wounded, rich, happy, growing, learning.
Right, it's now time for this.
So in the news, Telegraph did an article, said why the government's attack on landlords has completely backfired. And I actually did a video about this. So the essence was, you know how badly the government attacked landlords.
Yeah.
Like in every which way.
It's funny, you carry on. I found an article, similar thread, but you carry on talking, I am listening.
Okay, it's very distracting while you're on your phone for me to talk.
See, Alistair doesn't give me this sort of crap.
Does he not? Does he not? Is Alistair not such a... wanting people's attention so that. All right, I'll tell everybody else that's listening, and even if you're not.
Cool, I am listening.
So here's the thing: we got absolutely attacked by landlords, and crazily enough, it happened by the Conservative Party. So a lot of it came from.
Which you don't expect, do you, from the Tories?
It was really quite disappointing, actually. Yeah, it was disappointing. It was nothing like what Labour was saying they were going to do, but we got spanked.
Did you watch the podcast I did with Marie? Talking about the different policies.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Yeah, but I knew that they were never going to get in. Ever. They were never going to get in. And I did a whole video about this.
You bet £10,000.
I didn't even bet 10,000. I didn't win any money. I was so confident. I don't want any money. The person, my YouTube commenter said, oh, what happens if Labour get in? I'm really worried. I'm going to hold off. I said, don't hold off. If Labour get in, you tell me your favourite charity and I'll donate £10,000.
Yeah.
And it's never going to happen. I'll publicly say that. I'm always making predictions. And guess what? I'm nearly always right because I know people. And I knew Labour weren't going to get in. And I also know that the rich people are the people that tend to make the rules. And when 2016, when Conservative was spanking us on every which way, whilst they were attacking us, I, again, predicted what was going to happen. So George Osborne was saying Section 24 tax changes, which is going to help first-time buyers. It's going to help tenants. It's going to help the poor. But we're going to basically penalise all these greedy landlords. Straight away, I knew that was nonsense.
Well, they were actually just penalising amateur landlords, weren't they?
Not even that. They were penalising tenants, which is the sick and twisted thing. Because even amateur landlords, they changed the rules straight after George Osborne said that. When he said that you could no longer claim your tax, you can no longer claim your mortgage payments as tax deductible.
Yeah, for a limited company.
Yeah, no.
Go on.
There was no rule about that. That rule came in. Then it was very quickly discovered, this doesn't apply for companies. So all the big investors, the big boys that are buying through companies, of course, are not affected at all by the Section 24 tax changes.
Yeah.
So that's why you say, it's only affecting amateur landlords. But they then said, they changed the rules, 2016, and said that anyone, even an amateur landlord, even a first-time buyer, can set up a company, a virgin new company, and call it Joe Bloggs Limited Property, whatever, and they can buy a property through that company as long as they'll act as a guarantor to the company. You could never do that pre-2016. This was mind-blowing.
True, but a lot of amateur landlords that already, because it is a bit of a nightmare.
Yeah, it is a complete nightmare to check. Yeah, you're right. It is.
So you got an amateur landlord that already owns it, and then suddenly bang.
But then here's the other crazy thing. We'll get there. So suddenly amateur landlords can become can set up a company and become a professional landlord overnight, no problem, no questions. Whereas prior, it was impossible for them to do that because there were so many questions about the company, how long has it been trading, the company to get a mortgage was hard. So they changed the rules that meant now anyone can be a professional landlord. So suddenly, actually, Section 24 is not that bad. But problem, what about the existing properties in your portfolio? Well, what are landlords going to do? It's quite obvious. They're either going to sell up, which a lot of people did, or they're going to put their rents up. A lot did the latter. So what happened was, suddenly you've got all these landlords selling properties, and when there's a lot of stock on, and these are investment properties, it's a good opportunity for people like me to buy more properties at a discount because there's many. How am I buying them? Through a company. The rents are going up like crazy on properties because, of course, the rents are going up like crazy because landlords are being affected and they're just putting their rents up. So rents didn't go up hardly for like 10 years. So from 2008 right up into 2016, rents only went up marginally. But suddenly in 2016, guess what's happened over the last few years? Rents have gone crazy. And that's why now the Telegraph are writing, sobbing about it. Well, not even the Telegraph don't care, but the government are sobbing about it, saying, oh man, rents went up in London in the last 12 months by 4.5%. And they're saying 4.5% in the last 12 months. And the year before it was really high, and the year before. So rents in the last few years have gone up a lot, which has just affected the tenants. And now tenants are struggling.
It's hit everyone. It's hit the amateur landlords because they've either had to sell, which they probably didn't want to do, or they've had to put the rents up.
It did not affect the rich people.
That's the people it was designed to help. It's helped rich people.
Yeah.
Everyone else it hasn't helped.
Correct. No one else has it helped. And another thing that they were moaning about in the Telegraph was that. Okay, here's the thing. Okay, before I even say this, 2016. What was I saying on my YouTube videos?
About what?
About buy-to-let and about all these new changes.
You were saying it was a good thing for landlords.
Yes.
And that you should be rubbing your hands.
Yes.
Yeah.
2016. You can go on my channel, check it out. Watch a video called "Why I Love the New Tax Changes." Bang. So I predicted
because everyone was going, oh no.
Yeah. They were all scared. Oh no, this is and I said, don't worry, hang in there. Here's what's going to happen. I said, and people were campaigning to try and reverse the change. And I said, don't spend your energy trying to reverse the change. The change is coming to help the rich. Just think like the rich and become rich through the change. Stop campaigning.
Yeah.
Maybe sign a petition, it takes 2 minutes, but stop campaigning because that is negative energy. My prediction was that over the next few years, I said rents are going to go up a lot, which they have. I also said about the company, I said if you buy through a company, which now everyone's doing. That was my prediction. That's now come true. Another thing in 2016, 2017, what did I start advocating like crazy? Serviced accommodation. Why? Because instead of getting a general rent, you can now get a super rent. So I started teaching and advocating serviced accommodation and started doing it myself.
Because serviced accommodation has been around for years.
It has, but I didn't even do it before this.
No, you didn't.
Because I wasn't
this
bothered.
article's about, so I'm glad you mentioned that. But
so this article is exactly about that in the Telegraph, and you've got it again. Here's the thing: the Telegraph was reported that 7% of properties in the City of London, 7% of properties, that's a lot, are on Airbnb. That is ludicrous. So what's happening now? Now not only are rents higher, but rental properties are more few because everyone's doing it on Airbnb. And even though there's a 90-day rule in London...
No one gives a toss, do they?
Well, no one gives a toss, but the people that do give a toss that are ethical, which you should give a toss about the rules...
Oh, I think you should.
You should be, you don't want to be a lawbreaker, okay? You can be creative, but don't break the law. But what people are doing is they're renting it out for 90 days. They're making so much money in that 90 days. They're then just getting like monthly rolling contracts for the rest of the year. And at the end of the year, 90 days. And they're doing that. So what's happening is there's less properties to rent. More people are doing service accommodation and making money through that. The rents have gone up anyway. So it's penalised tenants, the very people, the poor people, not necessarily the tenant support. I'm a tenant, right? I rent where I live. So I'm not saying tenant support, but the poor people have been hit. The rich people have been given massive opportunities and got wealthier. And it's just the same. The rich will get richer, the poor will get poorer, thanks to the changes. So now the government are apparently moaning, but I am so shocked that they're pretending to be shocked because I think they knew exactly what was going to happen.
Oh, of course.
Of course.
It was planned.
And George Osborne either knew or was just used as a puppet anyway. Yeah. I'd love to have George Osborne on the channel and have a chat with him.
You should try.
I should try.
You should try.
Make it happen, listeners.
There you go.
Another guy I'm wanting to get on the channel is Martin Lewis. I like Martin Lewis, but I'd love to have a chat with him. But that's another story.
It is. Right, that was the news. It's now time for this. Okay, so it's time for the question and answers. First question is from, I've lost the name, Scotty. He says this, what would the best way be for someone to become a deal sourcer in England but live in a different country? I'm currently reading Samuel Leeds' book, Buy Low, Rent High.
Okay, it depends on what country you're in. I mean, you can package and sell deals in the UK to UK people or overseas people and not live in the UK. However, if you're living in a country where property investing is good, then you can do it in your own country. Like, the essence of deal packaging or deal sourcing is when you become good at finding deals, you haven't got the money or haven't got the money or the inclination to buy all of them yourself, and then you just match an investor with an investment. You can do this in America, Australia, in the UK, anywhere where you can find good deals. I mean, you can even do this. Do you know what? I even remember when I started out thinking about cars. I remember thinking, if I could find a car and negotiate the price really cheap. I was only like a kid at the time. If I could find a car that was $1,000, but I could negotiate it down to $750, and then I could find a buyer for $850, I could keep the £200 or £150 profit. That'd be cool. But actually, with property, it's just easier because it's much easier to negotiate good deals. If you can knock $10,000 off the asking price or off the value, you should be able to find a buyer that will give you $2,000. So what I would say is just start finding good deals and start growing your investor list. You can do it anywhere.
So would you say if you don't live in the UK, just don't deal source in the UK?
No, I wouldn't say don't. And I've had people on Winners Wednesday that have lived in, the Netherlands, and they've done it all in the UK. But you can do it in the Netherlands.
Yeah.
Don't think you can only do it in the UK.
So just do it wherever you live.
No, because where you live might suck. But first look at where you live and see if it's feasible. And then if it's not, then move to the UK. Oh, I got one from you. This is from Raheem. He says, I'm at university 2 years in, absolutely hating it, gaining no value. Would you suggest that I drop out and focus on property instead?
Wow. That is a deep question. I'd have to know a little bit more, really, about what his course was, how long he's got left.
I wouldn't have to know. I would just say drop out.
Really?
Drop out, but don't sue me.
Drop out.
Dude, if he's gaining no value from his... Here's the thing, okay?
He will be gaining value from it. He will be gaining value from it.
Listen.
Because here's the thing, right? If you're looking for a job and you've got a degree, it's suddenly... I know that you're going to say, oh, it doesn't guarantee...
All right, here's what I would say.
Go on.
Depends on what you want to do in life. I see so many people that go to they're in university and they're just staying to please their parents. They don't even want a job. They don't even want to do what they're studying. What are you studying? I'm studying engineering. Do you want to be an engineer? No. Well then, you are wasting your time. Why are you staying? Because my parents, I'll please them. Forget that. Yeah, Think about you, be selfish.
I agree, forget that. But to a point, like what you do learn at uni is you learn to think a bit more, because it's not like...
But dude, believe me. Yeah, of course you're going to learn something. But the amount of time and money spent on being at uni...
Yeah, but he's probably spent the money already. He's 2 years in.
Yeah, but no, he probably hasn't. He probably still needs to spend another $9,000 to get his third year. And if you did nothing, if you just sat in a room on your own and watched YouTube, you'd probably learn more and learn to think more. Of course you're going to gain value because you're giving yourself time just to gain value. I mean, honestly, it's the biggest waste of time if you don't want to do what you're studying. It's just ridiculous. Drop out, my friend, but don't sue me. Disclaimer, I'd need to talk to you in person before I could give you actual advice. Disclaimer, I will not necessarily make you financially free with a guarantee, but you know what? Honestly, that's just my opinion.
I think if you're 2 years in, depends on if it's a 5-year course, then and you hate it, then find a job out. If it's a 3-year
I think as well, you should never do something that you dread or is making you miserable. I don't do things I don't like doing. If I don't feel like going to work, I don't go to work. I
just don't agree.
If you're not loving what you're doing, okay? Yeah. If you're not operating within your value system, doing what you're passionate about, you shouldn't do it.
But just because if you don't fancy going to work one day.
Yeah, but you know what? I'm obsessed. I do fancy it. Because why? Because I'm doing what I love.
But if you didn't one day, you'd still go. Let's say the crash course on. I don't really fancy it. You'd still go and do the crash course.
Listen, of course, if you've got responsibilities and commitment. But if I found myself not enjoying crash courses, I would stop.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think it's a wrap.
Brilliant. Well, guys, thanks ever so much for tuning in. We are back next week, same time, same channel. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and myself and probably Alistair will see you next week.